Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. I want to thank you for being here, taking this time. And Steve and Debbie, we thank you for opening your home to let us do this. As I told Steve yesterday, there are a lot of people who have been asking about him and wanting to see him, talk to him, and we decided, well, let's do a little Zoom happy hour. So we've got all of the things we need here for a happy hour. We hope that you all do as well. You can see Steve on the screen, many of the pictures of folks, but on the right-hand side, you can see by name who all is here. But before we open the floor to let folks say a few words, we want to thank you, Steve, for all the work that you've done in your career, all the way from your commercial sector work, Weldon Spring to Pernal, back to the bridge in charge of the cleanup program, and finally to TBA and Jacobs before you really did retire. You had a lot of folks helping you. Colonel Ondoff, who is with us, provided.
That's what I was going to say. Jim played a huge role in me getting that Weldon Spring job. It's the best thing I've ever done.
He provided a lot of support and a lot of oversight.
Yeah, I get calls of somebody out there kicking tires to get out there and find Jim.
We also have, I think, Frank Munger is on the line, and Frank also made sure that the community knew how well you were doing, not so well you were doing. And Robert Brown, who's on the line, he and I were we probably were your accomplices more than anything else. I'll let Mark Ellison and some others say more about your career, but there is one project that I would like to point out that I believe and others agree is the single most important project that enabled the final demolition of ETDP, a project that was your idea, and you championed it when others did not necessarily want to, and that project was the Hall Road.
You know, I've got a reputation everywhere I go. Somebody asks me, well, where in the hell are you going to build a Hall Road?
You knew that public road transportation of radioactive debris was fraught with many problems that could shut down the K-25 cleanup. We knew from our experience with the transport of DUF 6 cylinders on public roads what potential problems could occur. With DUF 6 cylinders, we had no choice but public roads, but there were consequences of us doing that. We really wanted those cylinders to go to Bill Murphy, who is with us today, I think. And Bill still loves all of us in Oak Ridge for that gift of those DUF 6 cylinders.
Guaranteed him a job.
Transporting thousands of large truckloads of K-25 demolition debris across public roads would not have been a safe approach. Without your foresight, constant support, and dogged determination to assure safe transport of that material, the K-25 site demolition would likely not be finished today. I'll let Laura Wilkerson and Ken Reuter say more about that and your other accomplishments in a few minutes. So before we open the floor, we have a couple of presentations for you, Steve. I want to ask Mark Ellison with Jacobs to MC the rest of the program and to present you with something from the Oak Ridge community. And then Laura Wilkerson has something for you from the DOE. Then we'll have a little toast to you, Steve, and open the floor so that everybody can say their thoughts and thank you. So Mark, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Joe. Well said.
You get right here.
Steve, I just wanted to tee this up by just covering a little bit of your career background. So you were born
good stuff, I hope.
Yeah, in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. You still live in Oak Ridge. You're here with your wife Debbie, who's here. and your two daughters, Brooke and Sarah. Went to University of Tennessee, started your career as a civil, structural and architectural engineer for Catalytic Inc. in North Carolina, where you worked as a design engineer and then you worked a group leader. You then moved on to Department of Energy in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. There you worked within the engineering construction division, and you started working on cleanup projects. And you started working on small but politically charged projects in various states, and we started to see a theme starting to develop. So your next assignment was a project manager for Department of Energy at Weldon Springs. You started off as the deputy project manager, working your way to become the manager in 1989. So this established you as a leader and a manager of complex, large environmental cleanup programs, something else that we're going to see more of. So it was a complex site. It was the first site to be listed on the DOE, the EPA's National Priority List. You had to work with all the stakeholders, including EPA, the state, the community, and you personally engage with the community in every possible setting to make sure that their expectations were met. During the course of the work, the site was awarded OSHA's Volunteer Protection Program Recognition for Safety. And in 2001, the Association of Geologists give this project their Outstanding Environmental Engineering Project of the Year. And also, it was the first DOE site closure. And this was years ahead of any end state closure or any other site being closed. So you did the very first one. Your next assignment was at Fernald. So you were responsible for all aspects of this multi-billion-dollar cleanup. Again, working with stakeholder groups, the media. Fernald was heavily influenced by local activist groups who had direct access to the White House and many points in between. And this made community relations so important. You worked with the community, you engaged in monthly meetings, you worked with the residents, and the project was completed to everyone's satisfaction. And you achieved DOE's second site closure. It's a theme coming. So your next assignment was US Department of Energy, Assistant Manager for Environmental Manager at Oak Ridge. You were responsible for all environmental cleanup work at the Oak Ridge Reservation at Oak Ridge, Tennessee. The work included D&D of large industrial facilities. You're responsible for every aspect of the work: safety, scope, cost, schedule, community relationships. And one of your, achievements was the whole road. Something that was critically important to achieving clean up at Oak Ridge. And we're going to hear a little bit more about the whole road from Ken and Laura in a little bit. So your next assignment was with TVA. You were the general manager for the Kingston Ash Recovery Project. Under your leadership, that was successfully transitioned from an emergency into a disciplined, focused project with a defined course of action. And again, in February 12, that was awarded with the TVA President's highest honour for work done for the time period that you were there.
Can I throw a bone to Bob Deasty, because he's the fellow that sat on the other end of the trailer with me and let us get our job done. And I mean, if it hadn't been for him, we'd still be out there.
So from 2015, 2016, you were a technical advisor, again working as an advisor to EM2 and the Office of Tank Waste and Nuclear Material. And then I'm glad to say in 2016, you joined Jacobs as an engineering program manager. Still to this day, you serve as a program manager and technical advisor for our government programs. And one of the jobs you did there was leading the process facility build-out project for DOE, EM, and you turned that project into the success that it is today. So the common theme there is, say, wherever you went, you made a difference. You know, you closed 2 sites. You were critically enabler for the 3rd one at Oak Ridge. You just made such a huge contribution to everywhere that you worked, including Oak Ridge. So to recognise that achievement, I'm so pleased, proud and honoured to present you with your very own Muddy Boot Award 2021. And as that sinks in, I've done you a plaque, and this plaque shows all the previous Muddy Boot Award winners. So just to put it into perspective, your name is up here and it'll be up in the E-Tech building with senators, congressmen, company presidents, newspapers, and your name. I mean, even Jenny Freeman's name's on it. And your name will be up there too.
Wow, I would have never figured that. That's very nice of you. And you know, this was all about you all and how good everybody was at pulling together to get stuff done, wasn't it? I mean, you know, it really was. And I don't think I've ever worked with a group of people at any of these places that didn't have, you know, we started Weldon Springs and none of us knew what the hell we were doing, but we figured it out after about 2 years. But everybody, that's just, everybody I've worked with has been such a pleasure, and then without you, think where we'd be. I mean, it was just really, really the best career anybody could hope to have.
Could I just ask E-Tech and Jim Campbell just to say a few words about the Muddy Boot Award and just a little bit about the background of the award?
Yeah. Steve, congratulations. This is a real privilege to be part of this august group here today and to do something that was a really easy thing for the East Tennessee Economic Council to do this year. You have hundreds of friends who stepped in and said, we've got to make this happen and do it right. And they put all this together today. The Muddy Boot was started in 1974, where the first one was given to a congressman who was trying to steal the name of Oak Ridge National Laboratory and turn and he was going to turn OREM into the Holiday or Chet Hollyfield National Laboratory. And in return of getting the name Oak Ridge National Laboratory back, we gave him a Muddy Boot in 1974. You've done a whole lot more, I think, to earn the Muddy Boot than any of the
No way.
There are five or six people in the room or in this Zoom room that have won Muddy Boots. Gerald Boyd standing right behind you, Jenny Freeman, who's there somewhere with you. Sue is in here, has a Muddy Boot. Ken Reuter has a Muddy Boot. All these people know that you have to do extraordinary things to get that honor, and your life and your work and your dedication to this community and to the organizations that you've worked for over the years is simply outstanding. And Steve, I just want to add my congratulations to all the others that will be coming today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. That's really nice. And it's us that gets this stuff done, you know, and it always has been. It's never been a one-person job. And the good thing was to have gotten to work with people like you that were, you know, they were there to help get our jobs accomplished, and we did it, I thought. Even harder. And not only that, but we had to make it temporary. Now, how long does temporary last?
It's a long time.
Yeah.
In the government forever.
Yeah. But this has just been wonderful, and I appreciate you all. I really do. This is good.
Thanks, Steve. So James, thank you for those words. I just at this point I just wanted to also thank Tracy Boltner and Nicole Allen and all of ETech and all of the Muddy Boots nominating committee as well for their part in this.
I
Thank you.
appreciate that too. I really do. I mean, I never thought I would ever rise up to getting one of these things. That's kind of neat. No, I'm serious. This is just really nice.
So at this point, I'd like to ask Ken Reuter if Ken wouldn't mind saying a few words about the significance of the Hall Road and its impact on EM success. Up to you, Ken.
Thanks, Mark. Steve, it's wonderful to see you and participate in this. And it's great to see everybody on the call and all the support. So to answer your question about temporary, I will remind all of us that we're still running the waste isolation pilot plant, and we plan to do that for decades to go. So
We're not gonna be able to tear that thing down for a while.
You know, Steve, we've known each other a long time, and I think one thing that everybody's familiar with me about is that I always think it's important to bring context and help people appreciate scale and magnitude of things, because you know what we do, not all things are created equal with regard to the magnitude and the significance of them. I have always been the firm believer that the difference maker with regard to successful environmental cleanup, which I think you demonstrated at all the closure places that you led across the country, is that those that disposition and properly dispose of the waste the best deliver the most superior environmental cleanup performance. And that could be no more significant of a point than as it relates to the Hall Road. You know, we have a lot of fun with the Hall Road because it's, you know, this temporary gravel road, and we laugh about it a bit. But just to put some context to the significance of it is over 100,000 trips were made on that road, eclipsing over 10 million miles, multiple trips back and forth to the moon, if you like the Apollo analogy. And the outcome of it was enabling the largest CERCLA environmental cleanup, the largest site on the national priority list from a building square footage standpoint, to be completed 4 years ahead of schedule, $80 million under budget, and most importantly, reducing $500 million in environmental liability to all of us, the American taxpayer. Steve, that is what's been enabled by the Hall Road. So yes, we have a bunch of fun about it and you know, laugh about this gravel road. And I actually, you know, I'm an avid cyclist, so I dream about gravel riding my bike on that someday when Laura says I can do that. But putting all the kidding aside, that's the significance of the Hall Road. And all of those trips were done safely, protective to human health and the environment. And it was done because all the risks, all the transportation risks that come with that much travel, that much movement, you know, if you look at risk models, you know them as well as we do, all of that was mitigated. None of those risks were realized. And that enabled the outcomes that we see at the East Tennessee Technology Park, which again is now the Heritage Center, a large economic development area, growing, you know, the opportunities economically in East Tennessee, conservation areas, recreation areas, all enabled by the ability to manage and disposition the waste better than and more efficient than anybody else. So, you know, you truly made a difference in Tennessee. You've made Tennessee a better place by virtue of what you do that. And all of us, you know, who either are retired here or plan to live here and retire here and live the rest of our lives here, I'll include myself in that, owe you a special thanks for having the conviction to enable the Hall Road to be done. Because I'm sure you walked 10 miles of broken glass barefooted to get there, to get people to accept that. And now the proof is there with regard to the significance of it. And I'll end with, that significance doesn't stop now. The Hall Road is going to be an integral part of the environmental cleanup of the other NPL areas, which is Oak Ridge National Lab and Y12. And it's actually been an integral part of effectively doing the groundwork and all the surface work at the uranium processing facility. 400,000 cubic yards of soil removed from that location on the Hall Road. And so thank you for all of that. And for me personally, I have to thank you for your leadership and your mentorship. You took me under your wing personally when I showed up here in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, to make the transition from treating high-level waste to the invite of Colonel Orendorff to come and dig up dirt and knock buildings down. And I personally couldn't have done any of that without all your mentorship and leadership, and I very much appreciate it as an individual. So that's the significance of the Hall Road. Yeah, we can laugh about it, but the bottom line is Oak Ridge, Tennessee wouldn't be investment worthy if it wasn't for that. So Steve, thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. I think that, well, I've always had the attitude that you try to stay off the highway all you can. And I think we've done that about every job I've been to, except maybe for Knoll, and that's because it was an easy lift from the site to where the disposal was. But it just, I really do appreciate your comments. I would encourage anybody anywhere to study it carefully before you decide you're going to cross the highway with start crossing a highway with multiple loads of waste, because it's just not necessary. And in fact, you can build an overpass. I think that's what we did at Weldon Spring more than anything, with an overpass to get us across that Highway 94.
Yeah.
And it's just a good idea. But you know what? None of these good ideas happen unless it's with people like you all to help us get there. This isn't. It's more about letting people do their job, I think. And you all have done your job all the time, and with the right attitude. I mean, it's just great. I just have loved looking back at it. I could not feel better about working on waste cleanup project. and it's primarily because of people like you. I mean, you really did. It's something that we run into surprises every day, and we work them out one way or the other. The K-25 building, it was a smart thing to go after that building from the outside in. And frankly, that's what prompted a lot of things that have happened, was you go the safe way. And the safe way was to do what you have to inside, and then you demolish from the outside in. And you all did it. And boy, you did a great job of it too. So thank you. Thank all of you. And Mr. Deasy let us do the same thing out there at Kingston, didn't he?
Well, can I say something about that?
Yeah.
So now I know where the idea of haul roads came from. So when Steve first came over to Kingston, he had this idea. Swan Pond Road was at elevation, and we had to move a couple million cubic yards of clay from an old farm that we bought over to the surplus site. So Steve, again, let's build a haul road, and he decided to take Swan Pond Road, turn that to an overpass so we did not disturb the community. Saved us time on the schedule and millions of dollars. And also, he really made sure that it reflected well with the community and it was a positive outcome. So on behalf of TVA, the work that Steve did for us, the money that was saved for the ratepayers of the Tennessee Valley. We want to thank you very much, Steve, and we couldn't have done it without you.
I'm here. Couldn't do it without you guys.
Steve, can you remember when Gerald was speaking, he said there was 2 things that we wanted to present you with?
Okay.
So, so we're not quite done yet.
I've counted 2.
So could I ask Laura Wilkinson to say a few words about the next award that we've got for you, Steve?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, Steve, and congratulations
Thank you.
for this honor. I guess I don't want to belabor the subject of temporary, but you know that over 70 years after the Manhattan Project, we still have not demolished some of the temporary facilities that were built at OREM and White. So our temporary is really long-term. So with that, it is my privilege and my honor to join this celebration to announce that we are dedicating in your honor the naming of the whole road bridge on Highway 95. So, yeah, I would like to share a graphic of the sign that and this is serious, this is not a joke. We will have a sign on the bridge and it's going to be named the McCracken Bridge, and we will have a plaque that will be placed on the bridge as well. And I would like to read what the plaque is going to read, what the plaque is going to say. And it will say, in 2006, the United States Department of Energy, Oak Ridge Office of Environmental Management, completed construction of this road. Its purpose was to provide a safe, direct route for heavy trucks hauling contaminated debris from the Heritage Center cleanup site to an on-site disposal facility 8 miles away. The decision to construct this road was made by the cleanup chief, Steve McCracken. While thoroughly debated at the time, this outcome played a leading role in DOE's successful cleanup mission at the site, which was completed at a savings of more than $500 million for the American taxpayer, and allowed travelers in this region to journey safely and confidently along its winding public highways. In recognition of Steve's strong leadership, bold foresight, and genuine commitment to the Oak Ridge community, this overpass is called McCracken Bridge.
Wow.
So also, Steve, your idea lives on. And as a follow-on to your idea on the whole road, we have retrofitted Reeves Road to make sure that we have out-of-commerce transport of demolition debris from ORNL to the on-site surplus sale. So it's a seed that you planted and that we've continued to grow fruit from. And with that, I want to also say that having worked directly for you, not only knowing you for all this time, but having worked under your leadership, I can say that all this honor is very well deserved. And even though it takes a team, the team takes a great leader, and you are a great leader for us, and very committed to the mission and brave in making sure that we did the right thing. So I appreciate that leadership. And with that, I'll pass it on to I'll pass it back on to Mark to
Thank you, Laura. That was very nice.
Thank you, Laura. And yeah, Steve, I just wanted to thank DOE, Laura, Mike Kintock played a huge role in this. Everyone's been fantastic in making this happen. So thank you.
Well, it's just great.
So we now get to the point where we're going to ask people to share some stories and some memories. So yeah.
I'm really gonna drink. Do you want to drink?
No, not just yet.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll just open it up to the folks on Zoom, and who's got something that they'd like to share?
My wife just knocked down the
Well, this is Mark Whitney. If maybe I can say a couple words.
Yes.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Is this for Steve McCracken, by the way? So congratulations, Steve. You know, for everyone else, I've probably known Steve the least amount of time of anyone on this call, but I felt like I've known him even before I met him. I'd heard a lot about him when I started working in Oak Ridge, and really before that, including some larger than life stories that I'm still not sure I believe, although I guess the Hall Road stories are actually true. And really, you know, didn't know whether to admire him or envy him more. But after meeting Steve and getting to know him, my feelings, you know, quickly tilted to admiration. He is, you know, always obviously been great at what he does. We heard, you know, Mark and Gerald talk about that, whether it's leading, you know, big projects or big organizations in the government, outside the government. But as you all know and knew before me, you know, what makes Steve special is, you know, he's a great person. I've benefited personally and professionally from the time that I have known him. When I moved from Oak Ridge back to DOE headquarters in 2014, seeing another person on this call reminding me of this. And by the way, Steve, he's fully to blame for this. But we asked Steve to come help on a big project and help with some other things in EM headquarters. Probably the biggest project, by the way, you can probably figure out which one it is in the complex. And after throwing him into that mess, I was a little concerned that he may never speak with me again. But by the way, did I mention it was mainly the other person on this call from the DC area. But he of course did a great job as always, and really some pretty complicated circumstances, and I selfishly got to spend a little more time with him there, so that was good for me. But in the event, Steve, I hope you're not still mad at me about that, and congratulations on this great award, and really recognition for your many accomplishments, for your contributions to the Oak Ridge community, and just for being really the special person that you are for all of us. So thank you. I wish I could be there. I really do.
And I feel the same way toward you, Mark. I mean, you've done a great job everywhere you've been. And I think it's just great to work with people like you. So thank you,
Steve. Thank you.
Hey Steve, Levitt couldn't be here. He's on traveling at the minute. He's actually on a plane.
Yeah.
He sent me a note. He said, when I think about Steve, I think about the long relationship between Steve and Jacobs, who's our client at Weldon Springs, then Phenol, then K25 ATTP, and then TV at Kingston. We've been together for so long that at some point it just seemed right for him to come and work for us. Or maybe we decided it would be easier for him to work for us than us for him. It came to Jacobs, made a great contribution, and we appreciate the time we worked together. Personally, I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We also got a note from Frank Munger, but Frank's online. So
yeah, I saw him a minute ago.
Yeah, do you want to say a few words, Frank?
Yeah, I can't hear you. Yeah, there you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you sure you want me to talk?
Absolutely.
Congratulations. I couldn't help but think when you're talking about the reasons for Hall Road and why they were so important, as I seem to recall, Highway 95 was closed 2 different weekends consecutively because of leaks on the roads out there.
Frank, I was about to bring that up and I decided not to. Thanks, Frank.
I have no tact.
It was just a little dribble.
Indeed. But those were good reasons.
Yeah.
I wrote a little piece which I think Gerald has somewhere about you and me and work that we do. And I won't read that again here. I just now looked it up, what I sent over that way. But one thing I did say at the conclusion was, these days about the highest thing people can say about anyone is, and it's become very popular, is that you're authentic. And I certainly think that describes you. I think you're authentic. I think, and I always admired that. Let me just read a little bit of what I wrote earlier. Over the course of a few decades covering the Department of Energy, I probably wrote thousands of articles. Many of those I would only faintly recall, if at all, even if you stuck them in my face or read them out loud. I would, however, be more likely to remember the people I interviewed for these stories, and Steve McCracken is one of the memorable ones. I had the opportunity to talk with McCracken on many occasions, particularly during his tenure as DOE's environmental manager in Oak Ridge. His job was at the crosshairs of some of the largest cleanup projects in history, and there was a lot to be learned. His team had to confront a full tableau of pollutants ranging from skunk oil to technetium 99.
Well, I remember that skunk oil. That was scary. I thought we were gonna have to evacuate Oak Ridge.
And interestingly, he didn't duck the news media or treat critics as adversaries during tough times. I remember one particular occasion when McCracken, while sitting on the sidelines of an ATITA conference, he gave me a brief tutorial on the cleanup issues of the day. It wasn't earth-shaking stuff, but it was informative and it was useful. Besides all the serious stuff, McCracken has a great sense of humor, and that's a valuable tool when facing adversity. If I were asked to describe him using today's popular parlance, I'd probably say he's authentic. He's the real deal.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I wish my wife was here. She gets smart. She needs to hear that.
This is, you said that apparently this is being recorded. You can see it trillions of times.
Frank, I gotta tell you, it's been a pleasure knowing you. You've been good for Oak Ridge. You really have.
Thanks, Steve.
Well, Steve, I have to remember back in first got to know you when I came to the department in '95. And one of my first trips was out to Weldon. And as you said, I was out walking around, and who did I run into but you? You know, you were out there too with the workforce, which is where you could count on Steve being, is out with the workforce, out with the work to be done. Something I'd like to, just to extend the Hall Road story just a little bit, and this you probably never realized, but out at Moab in Utah, we have built tailings that needed to travel about 30 miles to Crescent Junction. Well, folks wanted to put those built tailings on the road, and that to get with Reuter, he being a biker, that's biker heaven of the world out there. So they, even within DOE, folks were saying, oh yeah, just put that on trucks. But I said, there is no way. I know about McCracken said, build a haul road. So what we did, we built a haul road, an overpass up to the rail spur that Johnny Arthur said. You remember good old Johnny Arthur? He said, we're going to take this stuff by rail. And by golly, what you did at Oak Ridge, we emulated it there at Moab. And, there's been 12 million tons taken up there. And so what you did lives on. You don't think about it in those other venues, but very important. And certainly, I value you as a friend, Steve. You're a good guy.
I feel exactly the same way, Jim. Thank you. I mean, this is working with you and all these folks that do this work. Is just, I could not have picked a better job, no matter how hard I tried. Seriously. So I really do appreciate it. And by the way, my first introduction, I think, to Jim, or not my first introduction, but at the site, was I found him wandering around in a field out there. He was over there near where we were borrow area was, is what I recall. And I'd like to say I was on the site at that moment, but I wasn't. But I got a call, So I went out and, Jim, is that the first time we really, that isn't the first time we really met, was it? I don't think so. Was it? It was cool though. Yeah,
It was close to the first time. Yep.
it was all good.
Thanks, Jim. I also got a note from Robert Brown. Robert, I think you're on. Do you want to say a few words to Steve?
Sure. Hey, Steve, it's always good to see you. Unlike Frank, I can't quite remember what I've written in the letter, and I'm not at home, but I do have to say to the folks, I've known Steve since probably a little bit before high school, and then in college, and then a work career. And going back to high school, I've got to tell you folks, he was nowhere near as cute as his two sisters.
Hey, one of them's here.
They're both here.
Are they? Oh, yeah, you need to wait until they get out here and say that again.
But I do know, and this is in the letter, that whether it's high school, whether it is college, he and I both were on the same career path, and knowing him during the time, our work career, Steve always had a tremendous amount on his mind, and no matter what he was thinking about, I remember distinctly calling him one time at home and said, Steve, what are you doing? And he said, well, I'm up on the roof repairing some shingles. I said, can you meet me for a beer? And he said, absolutely. I'll see you in Maryville in 45 minutes. So the point of that is, no matter how busy he was, no matter what he thought about, Steve always found time to be with his friends and family. And that is very, very hard to beat. So Steve, you were right earlier, working with you and Gerald and Laura and all the other people that were in Frank Munger. That was a magic moment. We got a lot of things done, and it's something that all of us will be able to remember the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Your two sisters are.
Oh, my two sisters are behind me that we were just talking about. We're rounding them up. This is Debbie and Gail.
Yeah.
And see, you just might see what I'm saying is true. Aren't they cuter than Steve?
We could tell some real stuff.
Yeah. And then I'd get run over on the hall road.
But we're proud of them. We're
Well,
really proud of them.
thank you.
Really,
Thank
really.
you. I could not have had a better career. I'll just keep saying that. And it was the work, but more than anything, it was the people.
And we couldn't have had a better brother. And that is
Yeah.
the truth. Absolutely.
You're the only one that had.
Even though you used to bring snakes and alligators and possums to the house. And spiders under the bathroom.
Ooh.
That was always a good trick.
Oh, I love it.
Okay.
So Steve, we got a note from Bill Murphy. He didn't know whether he was going to be able to make it. So if you are on, Bill, shout up. Otherwise, I'm going to read your words out. No, okay. So Bill said, I'm not familiar with the Muddy Boot Award. I mean, get with the program. But if there's anyone that merits recognition for caring, contributing, and giving to the community, it's you. Let's face it, at our stage in life, it's not about more awards. However, the friendship and respect of those here today and those who walked in muddy boots with you at Weldon Springs, Finold, and the many sites reflects your lifelong appreciation, spirit, and dedication to completing the job and doing it right. As one who remembers the days in the 80s when DOE headquarters locked horns with field office leaders, I can say that the likes of Pat Whitfield, Bill Weisenbaker, Jack Oglitz, Jim Fionn, Jim Orndorff, and even the indomitable Loretta Parsons, sorry Loretta, would agree that Steve McCracken was worthy of their lifelong respect and appreciation.
Wow.
You and I can look back on many projects we collectively brought to closure, and the number of times we got something approved that was never done before. I'm proud to have worked with you. Your legacy, like the AM program, will go on forever. If in no part because of all the long-term care and stewardship required. the sites we built around the country. Congratulations and well done, your friend Bill Murphy.
Bill's, he's not on, I don't think.
No, he said he couldn't make it,
Bill
but
is
he
a
wanted
good,
to be
good
on.
person to work with and a good friend. He really is. He and I talk a lot.
So we'll open it back up to the Zoom. Who else would like to say a few words?
I might say a little something. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of nice things said about you, Steve, but I just want everybody to know that you weren't always cooperative. And when I became manager, you were at Weldon Spring. I asked you to come to Oak Ridge. You said no. You had some lame excuse about your family. I don't know what that was, but anyway, you finally did come to Oak Ridge, and you made a huge difference, and we all appreciate that. So all I want to say is you're the best, Steve.
Well, Jim,
Thanks for everything you did.
And I didn't want to say no, but I felt like we were still at a critical point at Weldon. I was going to stay there. Plus, I couldn't get my wife to move, probably. Not until the kids were out of school. But I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the Zoom?
Hey, Steve, this is Sue. Can you hear me?
I can.
Very good. Well, first and foremost, I just want to say congratulations. I think both the Muddy Boot and the bridge dedication are very well deserved. You and I, of course, have been passerbyers and worked together and around each other since the early 90s when I was with Fuse Wrap and you were at Weldon Spring, and you offered a lot of advice and support to help the Fuse Wrap program, which I think is very much appreciated by many. Then, of course, our paths crossed when I was doing reindustrialization and you were the EM manager down in Oak Ridge. And then finally, of course, when I became the deputy manager and then manager in Oak Ridge, your guidance and your advice was always very much appreciated. I also want to say that in many ways you made my job easy. And for that, I want to thank you for what you did before I arrived. I think you argued with the historic preservation parties for about 10 years before I showed up, which got a lot of the groundwork out of the way and allowed us to reach an agreement so that we could continue with the demolition of the K-25 building. And of course, everybody has already talked about the value of the Hall Road, so I won't reiterate that. But I just want to thank you for all you've done and for your advice and your friendship. And once again, just offer you a very well-deserved congratulations.
Thank you, Sue. And if I was a hard-headed person too much, I apologize now, but the fact is that together we got a lot of stuff done, didn't we?
We certainly did. And yes, it was an interesting time for both of us, particularly when you were trying to get things started with the cleanup program and I was trying to get things moving forward with reindustrialization.
And you know what? It was a good balance that we found, wasn't it?
Yes.
Y'all are doing this reindustrialization thing. Why clean? Well, I shouldn't say that. There's a reason to clean these sites up, but to clean them up for a purpose like that should be a big deal to everybody. I think it is.
That's right. That's right.
And we're not just leaving behind a mound of waste like we've done at the other places. This is really finding something good to do with the land, and it's working.
Yeah, yeah. I think we always agreed on that, didn't we?
We did. Yes, we did. It's just that Gerald wouldn't give us both as much money as we wanted.
That was it. It was definitely Gerald's fault. And Robert, let's not forget Robert.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right.
Anybody else?
Yeah, anybody else like to speak?
Sure. I'd like to say a few words, if I may.
Yeah, certainly.
I probably didn't know Steve in the same work context as most of y'all, but when we met, we became instant friends. And we had a great time talking about life, talking about, you know, our successes and our challenges and indigenous plants and marketing and spirituality and child rearing and where I grew up and where he grew up and kind of the things that come along between the differences of generations. And I'd like to say congratulations, Steve. Whatever they've given you today in showing an appreciation for all the great work you've done, it's just not enough. I could never return to you all the good things that you did for me and said to me in those times that I was trying to navigate this business. So my hat's off to you, and I love you.
Well, I feel the same way. And well, you know, if you don't find your friends and all this stuff and find things to talk about other than work, I mean, come on.
Amen.
That's right.
Hat's off to you.
And we always did with a good cup of coffee. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak?
Well, just speaking of that, Steve, I had to go by for you, you know. I had to go by Duncan. I couldn't send one down, but anyway, I got it here for you.
Now, Jim, it appears as though you're at home. How in the heck do you do that and not have time to go down to the lunchroom at the Federal Building? I mean,
It's closed, brother. Man, it's been boarded up for 2 years. Who knows if it'll ever open again?
That's terrible.
It's crazy.
Thought about that.
So I got to go to other venues. It doesn't slow me up much, but
Well, it's yeah, we went up to see Jim last time we were in DC. It was really a pleasure. I thought it was fun. I think without Jim in Washington, we would have had a harder time getting where we got to. Wouldn't we?
Yep.
That's right. Yep.
And he came to your retirement for DOE. And if you remember, he was on his knees.
He was what?
He kneeled down on his knees.
Oh,
at your retirement party for DOE
okay,
the first time. Yeah. We couldn't give you your present because you're going to TVA.
Oh, that was an interesting thing. They, you know, Kathy and them wanted to give me gifts. And I said, "No, you can't give a gift to a government employee."
You're gonna leave it at Goodwill.
So they tried to give it to me in between the time I was working for DOE and before I went to work for TVA, but that wasn't gonna work. So they just held on to it for a couple of years.
And it was Lynn Freeney. Lynn, right there.
That's right.
Right, that's it. Yeah, so it was a picture from Lynn Freeney, who is the famous photographer from
But
DOE.
they held that thing for me until finally I was no longer a fit. But it was, I'll just tell you, I just can't. I started my career with cleanup in Oak Ridge and I finished it here. How could it get any better than that? It can't. And John Patterson and them and all of us running up and down the halls trying to figure out how to get fuse rack work done. It was good days. Looking back at it. Well, that was, hey, can I say a few words?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Let me say that I really appreciate the words that everybody has said tonight. It just means everything to me. You know, it's you really want to feel as though you've not just gotten work done, but you've developed friendships. And that's what we've done, isn't it?
Yeah.
And frankly, that's what made it bearable at times. You know how it is. We were, particularly in the early days, when we were just learning how to do this stuff. And it was all of us stuck together. We learned how to get it done and still communicate with the public and pull them into what we wanted to do or what we thought needed to be done. And it worked. And it worked because of all those people like her in the room here. I mean, seriously, I'm not making this up. It was just a wonderful time. And I think with Laura and people like that over there, they're gonna fixing to have their wonderful time. To get started at ORNL and Y12, we can figure out how to get it all approved. It's gonna be a heavy lift, and everybody knows it, don't they? But it's gonna be good, I think. So I will stop there, except to say that I cannot say how much I appreciate everybody getting on this phone call tonight. It just makes me feel special somehow, even though I don't feel like I'm, hell, we're not special. We're all just working together to try to figure out how to communicate and get work done at the same time. And we did it, didn't we? And it was tough at times, but it always had a good ending, and it will, and that will happen over and over again. So anyway, thank you very much, everybody. And I hope to see all of you sometime soon, somewhere. And we'll have a cup of coffee and talk about Susan Meyer. She'll probably be there. She'll probably be there, though.
Hey, Steve, I have one more person who wants to say hi to you.
Hi, Steve.
Hey, how are you?
I was listening the whole time in the background because I'm in my sweatshirt and sweatpants.
Well, for anybody
Love
that
you.
Hey, Steve, while everybody's here, please show them and tell them the story about the SpongeBob Award.
I've got SpongeBob. We had Bob and I and Gary Jacobs played golf together all the time, and we had one hole. Which one was it, about 14 or 15? I don't remember what it was, but it
16.
It was 16. So, and it was only about 110 yards to the green, so I only had to use the wood to get there. The way I play, but it was whoever came closest. You had to be on the green and closest to the hole, and then you got SpongeBob, right? And then they gave me SpongeBob when I could no longer play golf again. Now is that cool or what? I don't. You and Gary still have a ball you're using now?
Oh yeah, we have another one.
I figured you would. For all you that don't, this is Bob and Paulette. He's the fellow I work for at TVA, and he worked for Paulette.
Yes. You got that right.
Steve, well, we're going to sign off, and congratulations, Steve. You're a wonderful friend, great person, and I will continue to see you and visit.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. Take
Okay.
care. Well, isn't that great?
So is it?
All right, Steve, love you, brother. You know, don't be a stranger. You and Debbie get in the area. You know, we got a place for you. Okay.
You absolutely. And
Take care.
Get up there. We're going to see you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Gerald. Appreciate it. Jenny, appreciate it. Bye now.
Thanks, everybody.
There's Mr. Adler. I thought he was gone.
There he
Just
is.
want to say congrats, Pop.
Now, Adler's one of those you got to talk out of retiring. It's just awful. I'm doing the best I can, Mark. That's funny. You do kind of beat it. Dave, you're going to retire before long, right? Or
I am, Steve. Actually, Steve, I was just thinking about one of the first times I met you was when I was in St. Louis taking care of Slaps and you were taking care of Weldon Springs, and Colonel Owendoff wanted to go see you. So I drove him up to Weldon, and you guys proceeded to play basketball, if I'm not mistaken, for a minute. But anyway, I've really enjoyed working for you too, Steve. I've learned so much. The one thing I always thought was great about you is how you would let me get creative, but you wouldn't let me get too crazy. And that was perfect guidance for that stage in my career.
Well, David, it's just been great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Steve, and we'll close the call out at this point. And thank you for everything you've done. And
please, let's this is just great that we could talk together. And I gave everybody the reason to be on the phone together. I think it means a lot to me. Because, well, now it's just evident, you know, by the people that we have in Oak Ridge and Washington. It's just been great. And Mark's been all over the place. So where are you now, Mark?
Annapolis, Maryland.
You told us that. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
Oh, by the way, Steve, do you have Jim Owendoff's address? He's never invited me to his place. Crash it.
Yeah, yeah, I can get it for you. It's easy to get there from DC.
No, it's not. I was driving.
No. It's easy because Debbie was driving and all that traffic. Well, thank you.
Hey, BJ. Congratulations again, Steve. It's great to see you all. Hope to see you all again soon.
Thank you. You guys take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Now we have to close.